So one of the most important lessons that I teach is how you or who you actually pay attention to, and the lessons that they learn actually matters. And I want to talk about that. So often we have behavior in the world that that is not representative, right? We all come from different stories, or we all come from different experiences, and we learn in different ways. And one of the challenges, and this is most of what we are many of stuff that we understand in management, and I study learning, is that the lessons that you actually learn often are not representative of what reality is. And the issue, or the thing is that who you learn from, they have their own experiences, and it's really hard to understand if those are actually representative of the real world, of your story, whether you can actually learn something from them. So to give you an example, right? So let's say you learn from the top performers, or the most highest performing individuals that you know of. They'll tell you advice that is suitable to their experience as a top performer. The problem is that you're missing out on a lot of information, such as their ability. You don't know if there may be higher ability, where they came from. Did they have some endowments that you don't have access to? Like a lot of missing information that, when you generalize from them in sort of a naive way, which we all do, we sort of idolize people that have been successful, and we try to generalize because we think that they're going to be representative of us, then we're going to come across really poor lessons. What we're going to do is look at them and say, hey, they're really successful. I'm going to try to copy what they're doing, or the things that they're doing. And you try to do it, and you inevitably fail, because it doesn't fit who you are, and it's really challenging to do many things in life, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is you go and talk to people that have failed a lot, right? That they have regret. Maybe it's older people. Maybe it is people that are, they tried something and now they're homeless. Well, you might actually miss some information there as well. You might have a more representative story from that experience, because it's more suitable to what an average person might be and how they might behave. But then you're also missing the same sort of information on that side, because you're just learning from the people that have failed. So they might have tried something and then didn't repeat, or didn't try it again, or they had poor experiences. And so it's really hard to generalize. The best possible thing that you can do is look to people that not are on either sides of the extreme, but just kind of look to ordinary people that are similar to you in your ordinary circumstance, and then try to learn from there. But, eventually what's going to happen, here's the trouble, is that particularly if you're trying to do something, and you're trying to sort of move up, you're going to move through social classes. And when you move through social classes, you're not going to have that many friends, right? And that's just kind of the story, right? Like, you're going to miss people along the way, because you're moving through social classes. I know it's rough to hear, but that's just generally what ends up happening. And, we have to sort of generalize, and then you have really nobody to learn from, and the lessons that you learn are often not suitable for you. So this is the ultimate challenge that often people face, right? It's how do you actually make sense of the world, given this information is not representative of your surrounding. And, the truth is I don't really have a good answer, just that there are these things to pay attention to and be aware of thinking about how you can actually go about and learn something from the world around us, given that there's all these sort of valuable things that happen. So to give you an example, right, I often see that we have all of these sort of lessons from top performers in PhD programs. And what we neglect, and this is a really big thing, what we neglect is that these top performers are far from representative of anybody, right? Like, they're at top programs usually, and the stories that they come from are not, they might never have to worry about the financial resources of somebody that didn't go to a top program, for example. It might be not as difficult. They might have access to more help and things like that, and better supervisors and things like that will be helpful, right? They'll sort of point you along the way. And we try to sort of suggest that they're representative, or you can learn something. The reason why there are these sort of events where there's like learning from the top people or whatnot is because they're popular. And people want to we think that we have this naive view that they're actually representative. I used to go to them years ago, and then I realized that none of the lessons that are being told are actually representative of my experience and what I'm going through. So it's like, well, this is ridiculous. Why am I, doing these things when they're not representative? And I think like a lot of you will actually experience that if you do these, learning from best practices and things like that. You'll eventually just say, hey, this is not really suitable for me. And it doesn't matter what field you're in, they have these things, and you realize that they're not applying to who I am as a person. And you sort of fit and mismatched. So I think we all need to sort of take the world, not as a given. I think so to realize that there is kind of this world out there, but then look at it with fresh eyes of like, what is actually going on? And so personally, I like to be upfront about things. And I know it's sort of frustrating. I kind of play to how my reality is and what I think about, but it's actually representative of a lot of people's reality. Particularly, I talk about, the challenges of being, a PhD or a researcher, or those particular things. And, if you just look at statistics and stuff, it's not a great outcome. And yet, if you try to learn from the top performers, they'll say a completely different story because they're not representative of actual reality of what everybody else is facing. So that's what I want to say, and I want to point out is you just live your life and you keep telling good stories, being open, and be okay with that. And I think that's an important thing that we all should learn as we go about our day, is to have the confidence to just be you. You don't have to learn from other people in the way that a lot of people sort of assume, but be more of yourself and figure out how to be more of yourself in a good way. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.